Today is July 15th, and this is William Michael of the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. And what I'd like to do is share with homeschooling parents what I have been working on for the past 2 weeks to make the use of the Classical Liberal Arts Academy really as easy to comprehend as possible. I'd like to draw your attention over here on the side. This is the main website for the Classical Liberal Arts Academy at classicalliberarts.com. And over here on the left side of the page, you'll see this link to Homeschooling Study Plans. I'd like to invite you to click on that link, which will take you to this homeschool page. You can see the address is classicalliberarts.com/homeschool. And if you scroll down here, you'll see that there's a list of links to grade level study plans. And what I've done is I've broken down all of the course recommendations in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy in detail into specific grade level tasks, which I'll show you in just a minute. But you can access all of these study plans here on this homeschool website, classicalliberarts.com/homeschool. So let's just pick any of these. If I click on Grade K Study Plan, you'll see it opens up this page here. And you can see here at the top of the page there are links to all of the other grade level plans. And also here, this is important, make sure you note that the date that the plan was last updated will be listed here. So if there's any time that you come back to look at things, you can check that date. Just make sure there hasn't been an update, because there will be updates because I have a lot of work to do. But I'll make sure that I note any time that the plan has been updated on the page here. You'll also notice in this gray box that it says that while you can look at the plan on this page, and I'm going to walk you through it in a minute, while you can look at the plan on this page, there are editable versions of these study plan spreadsheets. They're Google Doc spreadsheets, editable versions so you can make your own copy and use it. And the links to those editable versions are on the Study Center. So if you're an enrolled family or an enrolled student, sign into the Study Center, go to the right column down to the bottom, and you'll see links to editable versions of these spreadsheets. But here we're going to just look at the free plans that I share, which can be viewed but not actually customized and edited. So what we see here on this page is a detailed plan for kindergarten. All right, this is the Grade K Homeschool Study Plan, and I've done this for all 13 grades, so kindergarten and grades 1 through 12. I've gone through them all in detail and broken them down as I'm going to show you. This is a lot of work that I've done, and I've gone through them over and over, so I really don't think that there are many mistakes that need to be corrected or things that I have failed to edit. Some parents have also have already been giving me feedback, which has been very helpful, just because this gets weary after a while because there's so much detail. But I've laid out all of the grade level study plans in these spreadsheets. So I've really broken the whole Classical Liberal Arts Academy K through 12 curriculum as far as course recommendations go into individual lesson tasks, which I think is going to be very helpful. I've never done this before. I have never provided this level of detail for homeschool families, and frankly, I'm very excited because for my own sake, I've got all of this detail now to work with to help me with my own lesson planning and teaching and assessment. So this is a development in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy that's going to radically affect everything we do, because it gives all of us an organized system of grade level tasks that we can all focus on and work to get through together. So what you'll see, I just want to show you, because there's a lot of detail in these spreadsheets. First of all, you'll see the grade level listed here, Grade K Homeschool Study Plan. Under that, you'll notice that there's a blue bar, and I'd like to ask you to just scroll over to the right and you'll see that that bar is actually labeled Modern K-12 Studies. So all of the subjects that would be required by a modern grade level study program, they're all under this blue bar. And you'll see that blue bar extends to the right to this midpoint on the spreadsheet. You see the black line that divides it. That blue bar marks all of the modern K-12 studies. And then if we keep moving to the right, we see this red bar up at the top, and it's labeled Classical Catholic Studies. So those studies which are really peculiar to Classical Catholic Studies are on the right, and the modern grade level studies that are required by compulsory education laws, there to the left under that blue header bar. So just pay attention to those two colors at the top, the blue and the red, which mark grade level studies on the left and Classical Catholic Studies on the right. Now underneath that top bar, you'll see there's another bar where the subject areas are identified. So here you see English Language Arts, and you'll notice that that bar actually covers a few columns. So English Language Arts, and if we move to the right, you'll see that there's this orange Latin bar, then the green Mathematics, blue Science, brown Social Studies, a light blue Arts. And then when we get into the Classical Studies, we have the red Trivium, green Quadrivium, blue Philosophy, and purple Theology. So you can see that you've got the major division between Modern Studies and Classical Catholic Studies, and then you've got the subject areas marked out with those different color bars. So the reason why that's important is because if when we get into the higher grades, if you want to have, let's say, a transcript, we're going to put English on the transcript, but that English will include a number of different studies all under the subject area English. The same is true for Latin, Mathematics, Science, Social Studies. So those would actually be transferred to a transcript. And then these break down into individual courses in the academy. So for example, under English Language Arts here, you can see that the first course included under English Language Arts is handwriting. And you'll see all of the lessons listed for that handwriting 1 course. So for kindergarten, the goal there would be to walk the student through handwriting 1 through all 30 of the lessons. Now, when you see that, you may say, seriously, we're supposed to cover the whole handwriting course in kindergarten? And this is one of the important problems in thinking about curriculum. We're going to go through this course, this handwriting course, several times. So when we go through it in kindergarten, we're sort of going through it quickly and in a way that's appropriate for kindergarten students. So if you look and see that there's 30 lessons, and you think, well, there are 36 weeks in a school year, you can see that you should go through about 1 lesson each week and just introduce the student to it, have the student complete the assignments, and you're going to accept a level of quality that's appropriate for a kindergarten student. And you're going to repeat this course in 1st grade, and that's where you're going to work on making things better. So for this 1st year, we're just going to walk through handwriting 1, covering 1 lesson each week. You can let the child work on it as often as you have handwriting class time during that week. And then the next week, you just move on to the next lesson. You don't have to worry about mastery or perfection. You just move on to go all the way through the calendar. And then, as I said, in 1st grade, we're going to do this all over again. And so we're going to revisit it. It's going to be familiar to the student, and the student will get better. So we're going to repeat some of these courses, and that's how we're going to get better. The 2nd course under English Language Arts, you can see here, is English Reading, and you can see it's the kindergarten level reading course. And that's a course that's intended for kindergarten students, so we're going to move through that whole course, and you can see it's 52 lessons. Now 52 is a significant number for planning because there's 52 weeks in a year. So you can see, just to get a rough idea, you'd want to move through at least 1 lesson a week. And again, we're not aiming for any kind of perfection or mastery. This is a grade level study. We're just moving through with the calendar, trying to do as well as we can, making notes about strengths and weaknesses, things to focus on, but moving through on a scheduled calendar study through that kindergarten English reading course. So that's 2 courses under English Language Arts. And then if we scroll over to the right a little, we'll see that there's a third here. We'll see the elementary literature kindergarten level course, and there's just 9 lessons in that. So that's getting kids started with reading. And note there's a difference between the reading course and the literature course. In the reading course, we're actually focusing on the skill of reading, whereas in the literature course, we're actually studying the stories, talking about the characters and the plots and things like that, helping children to start learning literature. So for the English Language Arts, we see there's 3 courses for kindergarten: Handwriting 1, English Reading K, and English Literature K. And that gives us our kindergarten English program. For Latin, nothing for kindergarten level. Now, you can always add to this. So if you wanted to add, let's say, petty school reading, you could consider that as a Latin course since it teaches Latin pronunciation and things, but we're not including any specific study for Latin at the kindergarten level because we really want to focus on basic skills. We want to make sure the kids are learning to write, learning to read, and just getting used to school time. We don't want to overwhelm them with academic content too soon. So no Latin course recommended at the kindergarten level. Then when we get to mathematics, we can see that it's the Modern Arithmetic 1 course, and we've got scheduled down through 89 lessons. And again, because this is a grade level course, we just want to move through that, a lesson every couple of days. Just keep moving, learn the basic concept, talk about it, practice it a little bit, move on to the next lesson, and move through those 89 lessons for kindergarten math. And again, really focus on English and math at that level because we want the kids to get off to a good start in those 2 core courses, and we don't want to burden them with too many other studies so they can really get a strong foundation in reading, writing, and arithmetic. Now, if we scroll over to the right, all the way to the end, to theology and philosophy, we'll see that we can get started with Aesop's fables, even with kindergarten students. We're not going to have them do the assignments, obviously, but just to have story time, to read stories to them, to have them listen to Aesop's fables and start to become familiar with the stories, that's fine. Especially if they've got older siblings who are actually getting more into the formal study of Aesop's fables. The kindergarten students can just sit there, listen, learn the stories, and enjoy it, and that's good for kindergarten. A possible assignment, which I'll include in the Aesop's Fables course, is you could have little guys in kindergarten just draw a picture of the fable or something like that to give them an activity. But it's really not necessary, and the goal is just to have them use this time with Aesop's Fables to learn basic skills like learning to sit and pay attention and listen, developing that discipline for future studies. Then we see in Theology, Catholic Bible 1, same thing. Just listening to the Bible stories, starting to become familiar with the stories and the characters. No real pressure on any assignments or anything like that. If you want to give the students some assessment work to do, just have them draw because they're just learning to write. Let them draw in the meantime and draw a picture of the story as an assessment. And then Baltimore Catechism 0, which is a kindergarten level catechism course where, again, they're just going to start memorizing basic things like basic Catholic prayers, the sign of the cross, the Lord's Prayer, the Hail Mary, and so on. And that's the kindergarten curriculum. Okay, so you can scroll through this and see, everything is sort of budgeted as far as what kind of content should be worked through each year. And what you see there on that spreadsheet is the kindergarten program, the recommended kindergarten courses for CLAA students. If we bump up to, let's say, second grade, let's jump up to second grade, things get a little more serious. We'll see at the second grade level, if we just quickly scroll across, we'll see there's a lot more stuff. Okay? So we've got some more courses, and we're getting a little more serious with study now by second grade when kids are 7, 8 years old. So we've got handwriting, and notice we're still in handwriting 1. So we're just repeating that course, and we're allowing the children to get better each time we go through it. We're not trying to get it all right the first time through, not putting any pressure on it. We're repeating it for several years just working through handwriting 1, going back over the course, practicing the letters, getting neater. Maybe you've got their previous work from previous years saved so you can compare them and see their progress. That's the kind of thing you want to have in a portfolio. If you've got a local homeschool evaluator that's going to check up on the student progress, to be able to say, here's handwriting last year, here's handwriting this year, and be able to show that there's an improvement, that's the best kind of record, best kind of portfolio stuff to keep hold of, is portfolio content that actually shows and proves that progress is being made. So we're going through handwriting 1 again. You see that we're in English reading level 2 in 2nd grade, so we're trying to get through that course. There's going to be a bunch of lessons, and those are just simple reading lessons, just, again, learning the actual skill of reading. You can see on the right that we're adding English spelling. So we're going to begin working in spelling, and it starts with very simple, short syllables and sounds and progressively increases in difficulty. But we're going to study this spelling course for multiple years. So we're going to be going through it, I think, all the way through 6th grade, because there are hundreds of lessons in that book. And we're just going to take 30, 35, 36 each year, which is about 1 lesson per week of the school year, and just slowly and steadily make our way through English spelling. So that's here in 2nd grade. We then have the Elementary Literature 2 course, which is a 2nd grade literature course, and we're just working through that book. You can see there's lots of lessons, 62 lessons. So a little more than a lesson a week year-round, 2 lessons a week during a 36-week school year. That would be the pace that we want to work through that book in. And again, remember, this is 2nd grade elementary literature. We're really just focusing on reading and keeping it simple, talking about the stories, completing some simple assignments, but making sure we move forward with the school schedule. In arithmetic, you can see we're still in Modern Arithmetic 1. We were in that in kindergarten. Now we're into 2nd grade, still in the same course, but you'll notice that we're up to lesson 37 now. And we're going to work from lesson 37 up through 89. So you can just see how we continue to work through the same courses year after year, gaining mastery by just continuing. And you can always go back and review and keep old stuff fresh, but we're continuing to work through that same book as the kids get older. Then we get up into elementary science, and we've got an elementary science program that's grade level based, so you can see elementary science 2. So reading through those lessons, and we see that there's a total of 40 lessons, so just about a lesson per week during a 36 or so week school year. Pretty easy to manage. And then we get up into the classical Catholic studies and over to philosophy. We see Aesop's Fables, and if you look at the lesson numbers, you can see that we're now up to lesson 37 in 2nd grade, and we just keep moving through to lesson 72, so 36 fables a year. And then over to the right, you can see we're still studying Catholic Bible 1, which we started in kindergarten, but now we're up to lesson 30, and we're just going to move through about 28, 29 lessons down to lesson 58 by the end of the year. And then lastly, or not last yet, we've got Baltimore Catechism 1, so we're moving up to First Communion preparation. Baltimore Catechism 1, and you can see this is the 2nd year we're working on this because we're starting with lesson 21 and working till the end, which is lesson 43. So we're doing the first half in 1st grade and the second half in 2nd grade. And then lastly, we see Lives of the Saints, and we're just reading through a course that's a new course in the Academy, reading through the Lives of the Saints. And so you just see the lessons listed, and there's lots of them because that's something you can just do every day or every couple days. Just read and study the life of the saint in that course. It's worth noting that that course is not linked to the calendar, so we're not trying to read the saint of the day necessarily. We're just going through the list of the saints and reading biographies about them, short biographies from a good old Catholic textbook. So that's an overview of the 2nd grade study plan. So let's jump ahead to, let's say, 8th grade. When we get up to 8th grade, we're going to find that things get much more challenging. So we're finished with handwriting. We finish, in the elementary years. And when the kids get older into the middle school years, this is 8th grade again, you can see that we recommend just working on typing. So a simple program like typing.com, and these are the names of the lessons here in the typing program, but just having something like typing.com so the kids can practice typing, become efficient typers. That replaces handwriting at the middle school level. We're then getting into English composition. We get into that in 7th grade. You can see in 8th grade, we're continuing that course in lesson 28. And we're going to study that course all the way through high school, just actually repeating it and working on gaining greater and greater mastery of that important book, that English composition book. So lessons 28 through 54, I think that's 27 lessons, just about a lesson per week. Then classical grammar is also being studied, picking up at lesson 20, working through lesson 37. That's 18 lessons, so about a lesson every 2 weeks during a school year. We then have English spelling, which we're continuing. You see that now we're up to lesson 211. And so we're working from 211 down to 248, which is about 38 lessons that year, about a lesson a week. And then the 8th grade literature course, which takes us quite a way through down to lesson 60. So about a lesson every week for the calendar year, 2 lessons per week for the school year, and those are just simple literature lessons, reading stories and poems, things like that. Now, all of that, notice, is included under English language arts. So you can see that we're really getting heavy on English language arts as we finish middle school, because we've got to have their language skills ready for high school. So we're really cramming language arts studies in 8th grade with all of those different subjects included under English language arts. We're also into Latin studies, just keeping it simple and working on vocabulary. You can see that in 8th grade we're up to lesson 121, and we go down to lesson 150, so that's 29 lessons or so, about a lesson a week. We're then getting into real mathematics. You can see here we're in our 2nd year of pre-algebra, which started in 7th grade. You see we're picking up with lesson 6, and this is broken down into individual units. You can see if we go all the way down, let's see how many weeks that is. It doesn't have a number on there. But we've got that broken down into the individual unit divisions, so there's time mapped out for that. We're going to work through and finish pre-algebra, and that's a very important milestone for modern math because we want to be ready for Algebra 1 in 9th grade. So finishing pre-algebra in 8th grade is a priority as far as modern K-12 studies go. And then we're also working through elementary geometry, which is a simple elementary geometry text that just introduces all the important concepts in elementary level geometry. And you can see that by 8th grade, we're in lesson 258, working down through lesson 366. And that's not a complicated study. It's, like I said, elementary geometry, very valuable stuff. And again, we're trying intentionally to cram in 8th grade, which is a very important year because it really sets the tone for what we're going to be able to do in high school, getting off to a good start in 9th grade. We then have a grade level science program. This is, actually we finished that in 7th grade. The grade level science programs end in 7th grade. And then in 8th grade, we study a textbook where we learn just a general introduction to science, to introduce the kids to all of the basic concepts in modern science studies to get them ready for real science studies beginning with biology in 9th grade. So Introduction to Science. Simple textbook, just introduces basic concepts on all of the important topics in modern science. World chronology, we're moving through world chronology, getting ready for high school history studies. And you can see these 37 lessons, about a lesson per week for the school year. Reading through them, we're not working for mastery, not digging in and going deep in these studies, but just trying to get a broad knowledge of the scope of world history to get us ready to study world history in detail in 9th grade. And then ancient geography is a geography course, obviously, that covers the geography of the ancient world, ancient Greece, ancient Rome, and biblical geography. So again, these two courses, getting the kids ready for really great high school level studies to start in ninth grade. Now, the reason why eighth grade is so important is because many students come into ninth grade totally unprepared. It takes them 2 years to even get things figured out, and really they accomplish most of their high school work in 11th and 12th grade. If we're going to help the kids achieve as much as possible, we can't do that. We can't wait until 11th grade. We want to use eighth grade as really the most important year in our kids' school career to get them strong across the curriculum so they're ready to hit the ground running in ninth grade. We get into classical Catholic studies, and you see nothing for trivium because we're focusing on English grammar and English composition, and we've got Latin vocabulary back in the grade levels. So we're not going to get into any higher level grammar, reasoning, or rhetoric. Nothing yet in classical mathematics. The trivium remains empty. Aesop's fables, just continuing to work through the fables, which they started in kindergarten. Here we're still studying them in 8th grade, working our way through fable number 288. In Bible, we would have finished Catholic Bible 1 by now, and so we're continuing in Catholic Bible 2. We're continuing to work through Baltimore Catechism 2, which is getting the kids ready for confirmation. Remember, these are 8th graders, so 13, 14 years old, getting ready for confirmation, and then continuing to study the lives of the saints as just a part of their normal yearly studies. So that's what 8th grade looks like. Then we get up into 9th grade, and we're really into the high school years now, so we're continuing. You see, we're starting English composition all over again. So English composition, same course they would have been studying in previous years, but now they're going into it as freshmen in high school. And the benefit of that is they're already familiar with it, and they can really work on mastery, which will help them to get good grades in high school and have the opportunity to go deeper in their mastery of that important textbook on English composition. We're continuing to go through classical grammar, again, all the way through high school, again, working for mastery by recycling through that course. Classical Greek literature is actually an English literature course, learning about and studying the writings of the ancient Greeks. So that's considered freshman literature, which is why it's listed under English. All of the readings are in English. So composition, grammar, and literature, the 3 parts of the high school English program. I think, however, that I'm actually going to move the literature course out from under English and put it in a separate humanities course because we really need time to just focus on composition and grammar for English studies. As we move to the right, you can see that we've got a heavier load now for Latin. So this is high school Latin, Latin reading 1, reading the Gospel of St. John, and getting into Latin Grammar 1, working through, 59, almost 60 lessons in Latin grammar. Again, not stressing for mastery, but just moving through it to get a good general knowledge of Latin grammar. In algebra, in mathematics, we're moving up into algebra with Algebra 1 or elementary algebra. And you can see there's 10 chapters, which I'll break down further into individual units, but that'll fill the freshman year for mathematics. Modern science, we're getting into biology. You can see the chapters laid out there in the OpenStax textbook. And then world history, we're moving through the first 35 lessons in a world history textbook that we're studying by one historian named Myers, which is a really great world history textbook. Classical Catholic studies, we're getting into the real classical liberal arts, and with these subjects, we have to get the grade level studies done. And with classical Catholic studies, we're just trying to get done as much as we possibly can. So to work through classical logic with a positive attitude, just trying to get as much done as possible. We're just going to keep these courses on the curriculum plan all through high school. So the kids can get as far through them as they can. They've got 4 years to work on these in addition to their grade level studies. So we just continue to move forward as much as possible. And I'll show you in a minute how this gets onto the transcript and what that's going to look like. In the quadrivium, same thing. Just as we start logic and rhetoric in the trivium, we're just going to get classical arithmetic and geometry up on the study plan and tell the kids, get your grade level stuff done. And then with as much time and energy as you have, start chipping away through classical arithmetic and geometry to learn as much as possible. In philosophy, we want to get into classical philosophy, and I'll talk about this in just a second because you can see this and say, how in the world would we possibly get through ethics, physics, and metaphysics in high school? The goal is not mastery. The goal is introduction. The goal is awareness, familiarity. We want kids who are 18 years old and who know what ethics is about, who know what physics is about, who know what metaphysics is about. They're not masters. They don't have these studies thoroughly understood, but they're familiar with them, and that's important. Most kids, most parents will say, we can't study that stuff, and so they just will be completely ignorant of it. We don't want to do that. We want the kids to be familiar. So what I'm probably going to do for these courses to make it easy for the kids is make videos in these subjects. So they've got their grade level stuff done. They're working on other classical liberal arts studies. They can just sit and watch a 30-minute video on classical ethics lesson 1, and I can just present it to them in a way that makes it familiar so they can at least know about it, know of it as they work through their high school studies. So classical philosophy, and then up into theology, studying sacred scripture, the Catechism of the Catholic Church, and continuing, you see, recycling, starting all over again in the lives of the saints. So that's a very challenging, very rigorous freshman year of study. And our challenge is going to be to make progress in these studies as efficient as possible. So don't get discouraged. Don't think that mastery is demanded in every one of these subjects. We want the goal of high school studies to be general learning. And we want our children to be familiar with all these subjects. Not masters of them, but familiar with them, so that they're prepared to make good vocational decisions at age 18 because they have a broad general education. That's our goal. And I'll talk more about this as we actually follow these study plans, because this is a radically different approach to education in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy, which I think is going to solve lots of the problems our kids have as they work through high school and get ready for adult life. And then let's just look at senior year. It's really the same structure. We're still studying composition, still studying classical grammar. We're working on American literature senior year. We're getting into Latin poetry senior year. Let me just scroll over here. Continuing through Latin grammar in level 3 now. Trying to get up to calculus. And again, modern math in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy is going to be dealt with very differently. I'm not focusing on raising super math nerds in high school because I think the other subjects are equally important. So getting the kids through mathematics in a simple way, in an easier way with simple comprehension exercises, simple studies and activities, not working on hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of exercises as if we're trying to raise 18-year-old engineers. They can study math in college if they want to specialize and focus on math. High school is for general education. So you'll see how I help the kids to get through these modern mathematical sciences as we do so. Getting into science, senior year, you'll see there's 2 courses listed for science here. Students pick one of them. So they already will have studied biology, physics, and chemistry. Senior year, they should take an advanced science, and we'll offer either modern astronomy or anatomy and physiology. I think those will serve different groups of kids with different interests. So there's not 2 science courses senior year. Students are going to pick one of those 2. American government in social studies. Then in classical studies, we just keep working through classical logic, rhetoric, arithmetic, geometry, just working through, becoming familiar with as much as we can over the 4 years of high school. Continuing the same way through classical philosophy, ethics, physics, metaphysics, and then in theology, studying sacred scripture, working through the Catechism of the Catholic Church, and continuing to cycle through the lives of the saints. And that would bring us to the end of 12th grade. So we skipped a number of the grades just to get a survey, but you can see how things work. And what's exciting is the entire K-12 program is now outlined in detail, subject by subject, for the whole entire program. So all of that's available. If you go again, let me just go back and I'll show you. Go back to the home page. Over on the left side here, this homeschooling link, that brings you to this page here where you can pick a grade. But even when you do pick a grade, like I showed you before, all of the grades are accessible from this page. And that's just from that homeschool page. All right. Now, if you scroll down on this homeschool page, there's more information about homeschooling and our approach to homeschooling. But what I want you to see is I've got information on certificates that will be available as students complete those grade level subject requirements. So these certificates of completion will be available from the Academy for students that complete them. And then the transcript, you can see a sample of what a transcript, following those study plans, this is what the transcript will look like. Now you'll notice that, I hope you can see this all right. If not, you can check it out on the website yourself. But it's got freshman year studies, sophomore year studies, junior year studies, and senior year studies. Those are the modern K-12 studies that we saw on those study plans. Then you see there's a bar across the transcript, and beneath that bar are classical studies, whatever has been accomplished, and Catholic studies, whatever has been accomplished. Notice that I'm keeping classical studies and Catholic studies outside of the grade level studies because I want the kids to just work through them with as much time as they have across their 4 years of high school. And we'll just put them separately on the transcript. Whereas the grade level studies, we want to keep them listed as freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, because colleges are going to be looking just for a normal presentation of grade level studies. We don't want anything crazy when we're presenting this information to college admissions teams. But what we're going to show is that not only have our kids completed the modern grade level studies, but they've gone above and beyond that grade level curriculum and have also added classical studies and Catholic studies. That's the way that this should be done. So all of that work has been established. All of that work is now available here on this classicalliberalarts.com/homeschool page. And it's ready for us to just dig into and get to work on. What I want you to see is we now have everything broken down from the very first lessons in kindergarten all the way up through the final lessons in 12th grade, where you can see how they would move to high school transcripts. We see how course and grade level completion certificates will work. You can see the whole plan broken down now into detail with everything mapped out and laid out in those study plans. So there's just no more confusion. All right. Everything is done. Took me 2 weeks working around the clock to get all that put together, but I'm really excited because, you know, it's great for you parents. It's great for the students to be able to see all that broken down, but I've never had it broken down this well for me to work with. So as a teacher, I'm excited to get working on this because I can see exactly what I need to have developed when, what level of mastery it needs to be available at and so on. So for me, I'm also really blessed by having these study plans available now. One other thing worth noting, if you go up to getting started here and down to course recommendations, you'll notice that this page has been all rewritten and it's much simpler and clearer. Because now that I've got the study plans all worked out in detail, I can put a nice, neat list of courses here for each grade level, grade K, grade 1. These are the courses that are actually listed on those study plans. So these courses are all broken down individually on those study plan spreadsheets. And you can see this goes all the way through 12th grade. Okay, so all of these grade levels are now easily accessible. Everything's laid out, and this matches exactly what's on those study plans. So this is all one organized system now. The last thing I want to show, if you're new, let's talk about enrollment real quick. If you look at this online catalog link, you'll see there's 3 options. Online courses, if you want to actually enroll in individual courses. Grade enrollment, which is something new that I'd like to show you, and then enrollment plans. Now, most families in the Academy are already familiar with enrollment plans, the student plan, the premium student plan, the family plan. That's the recommended way to enroll. You enroll in the subscription plans, you pay a single monthly payment, you have access to every course you need. So I think that's the simplest way, but I know some families don't like to have monthly payments and things like that. You can buy the enrollment plan for the whole year in one shot or use the monthly subscription. But if you don't want to do that and you want to save a little bit of money, what I'm making available are grade enrollments. So for a grade enrollment, you can just enroll a student in 2nd grade. And you can see the prices here. And while that might look expensive, it's actually for premium level enrollment in all of the 2nd grade courses. So you can see the 2nd grade courses are worth $1,250, but you save 25% by enrolling in the whole grade. So if I click on this grade 2 enrollment, you'll see all of the courses for 2nd grade are listed. So you get everything with that single enrollment. There's no deadline on it, so you can, if a student doesn't get it all done in one calendar year, he can keep working on it. That's okay. But what's important to note is that not only do you get access to those courses, but you get premium level support for those courses. If you don't want premium level support, then you might as well just sign up for the student plan. All right, so these grade level enrollments give families the option to have premium level support for course enrollments rather than subscribing to the premium student plan. And it saves you some money because it would only cost $937 for the year to subscribe to the grade level enrollment, where if you paid $100 a month, that would be $1,200 a year. So you're saving some money, and you're also saving on buying the courses individually, because that would cost $1,250 and this only costs $937. So anyway, a number of different options for enrollment. Every family is going to have to pick the option that serves them best. If you want some help figuring out what option might be best for your circumstances, it might be easier just to chat with us and let us explain what your different options are. We'll help you find the most affordable option. But anyway, all of that is now available. And this is, radical improvement in just how simple everything is to use now. I'm not saying it's easy, because we're really ramping up the standards and raising the bar on K-12 education. And there's a lot more that I have to talk about to explain how we're going to do this. But with these study plans, you've got everything now broken down for you. As parents, as students, you can see what the goal is for each year. And remember, a grade level, a year of grade school is 36 weeks out of a 52-week year. So we've got a whole calendar year, 52 weeks, to get 36 weeks of studies done. And we're going to make sure we keep homeschooling flexible, because that's one of the benefits of homeschooling. But everything's broken down now for all of the courses, for the entire grade level, for the entire curriculum, and we just need to start working through it, which is going to be great. So all that's available. I'm not going to say much more. I'm just going to keep getting into more and more detail if I go. I just wanted to walk you through so you could see what's available now and where you can find it. And now, we're in mid-July, so we've got some time to chew on all of this, work through it, think through it, talk about it, and get ourselves into shape so that when August, September roll around, we've got things organized. This upcoming week, again, it's July 15th today. The next 3 days, I'm going to be away with my family. I've literally worked on this around the clock for 2 weeks. There are days where I went to bed at 3 o'clock in the afternoon after not sleeping, and I've just been working on this and working on it, because when you get into all these details, you just can't stop until it's done. You've got to get it going, get everything organized, and then keep adjusting things until it's finished. And thankfully, I'm finished, and I finished at a good time. And I'm going to take 3 days off with my wife and kids to go get a break, go camping, and get some fresh air because I've been at my desk the entire time. And then once we get back, we'll dig in and get to work with some exciting years of study ahead of us. It's just great stuff. You know, it's all broken down. The whole classical Catholic curriculum is restored. Grade level stuff is all covered, and it's all accessible, broken down into individual lesson task lists for each grade level of the entire curriculum. So anyway, take a look at that. Send me any questions you have. Let me know if anything looks funky. As I said, I've had parents already start going through it, sending me some notes. A link here is bad. Something here doesn't make any sense. I'm happy to explain things if you want to know, why do you have this? Why does second grade do this? Why does eighth grade have this? Everything is purposeful. So if you've got questions, ask. I'd be happy to explain to you why things are the way they are. So enjoy them. Let me know your thoughts. And I'm looking forward to getting to work this school year. God bless you all.